fucking illegal. You're all illegal. You're all illegal. We didn't invite none of you here. We're the only Native Americans here. That's right. We're the only Native Americans here. You're all illegal. We didn't invite none of you.
Exactly.
We didn't invite none of you.
Exactly.
Get on. Get on. Get on with your bogus arguments. Get on with your bogus arguments. We're the only legal ones here.
We have Native Americans here.
Yeah. We should have put that sign up when you son of a bitches came. Yeah, that's right. It represents blood. That represents blood spilled by Native Americans protecting this land from the invaders. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You don't want to hear the goddamn truth, do you? Get on, bitch. You don't want to hear the truth. That's what that flag stands for. All the Native Americans you killed to plant your houses here. That's the truth. That's the truth.
When the settlers of the 16 and 1700s began pushing inland across North America, they came across many strange earthen structures. High cone-shaped mounds, long ridges, huge flat-topped pyramids dotted and rippled across the landscape. Inside these mounds, unusual pottery and ornate artifacts were often found next to human remains of an ancient people that vanished long ago. For over 2,000 years, ancient peoples left their marks throughout the eastern half of the country, referred to as the woodlands. Hundreds of sites containing thousands of earthworks were discovered. Looking at this undertaking in its entirety, it is clear that the labors of the North American mound builders were of such magnitude that these structures are one of the great accomplishments of early mankind. This all seemed far too exotic to be indigenous to the New World. Attempting to make sense of these baffling earthen structures, later visitors to North America refused to accept that they were the work of ancient Indians. To them, the finds were evidence that a more sophisticated culture had once thrived there. Even the lost continent of Atlantis was included in these lost race theories. The ideas presented not only seemed exciting and magical, but were probably promoted to increase the value of the artifacts by those plundering the mounds for profit. We now know that Western Illinois was once home to America's largest prehistoric population at a site we call Cahokia. Monk's Mound is the largest prehistoric earthwork in the entire Western Hemisphere. Its base covers over 14 acres. It stands 100 feet high and has several terraces.
When Columbus landed, and he went back and he reported, and they said then, if there are no Christian nations in this new land you have discovered, I declare those lands to be empty. 1823. The doctrine of discovery became the doctrine of law. Christian doctrine, specific. Wasn't Muslim doctrine, wasn't Jewish doctrine, Christian. It's here, it's a reality, but most people don't understand that, and most people don't know that. We didn't even understand that on 1990, 1991, when I first really said, wow, what's the doctrine of discovery? It was a unspoken conspiracy by states going on all those years. Shh, don't tell the Indians. We found out anyway, eventually, finally.
It is an honor to come before you as a spokesman for my people, the American Indians of the United States of America. In these United States of America, this great country of ours, we American Indians, we can be anything we want to be, except American Indians. And that is created by the laws of this nation and condoned by its subsidiaries, the so-called tribal government, and designed for the Indian to fail, to be expendable, to be eliminated. After the American Indian hostiles had been subdued and forcibly confined to Indian reservations, it took approximately 30 years, one generation, for us to adjust and become economically viable. Contrary to what the anthropologists say and what we even ourselves are taught as Indian people. However, allotments were made smaller, our remaining lands were open to homesteading, and we were forced into reducing our livestock. Nevertheless, we made the adjustment again in less than half the aforementioned time, 15 years, and become economically self-sufficient again. But once again, the American Indian was forced into reducing our livestock. The boss farmer concept was instituted. We were told what, when, where, how much, and how little we could grow. This applied to agriculture and our livestock. Again, we recovered in a time span of approximately 15 years. We were so successful in our third recovery that the American Indians enjoyed the finest of economic times, while the rest of the industrialized world was wallowing in the Great Depression. It was then that President Roosevelt introduced the Howard Wheeler Act, better known as the Indian Reorganization Act, the IRA, which institutionalized the so-called tribal governments, which are not one of our institutions, and it is still foreign to us this very day. We have yet to recover. American Indians are human beings. We are supposed to be citizens of the United States of America. We fought in your wars in other countries. Our Navajo Nation code talkers served and saved this nation in World War II. At the turn of the century, American Indians numbered about 230,000, all traditional. With each succeeding generation, we lose our population base and our spirit as once proud peoples. The American Indian statistics of deprivation have remained constant since the end of World War II. With the blatant genocide of our traditional people, we have less than 50,000 in America today. We are averaging a loss of 1,000 a year since 1900. We are losing a value system as distinct people that sets us apart from the industrialized world.
Thomas Banyanka is the keeper of the carvings. It was he who uncovered the prophecies etched in stone after they lay hidden for many years.
So I wrapped this. So I was the one that cleaned this mess up and saw the drawing, and I was so surprised.
Thomas Banyanka is one of several Hopi elders who is entrusted with the pre-Columbian prophecy that has a series of final warnings to be told to the world before what is called the Great Purification by Fire. Either it can be a fire of nuclear war and greenhouse global warming, or it can be a fire of inner consciousness.
In the first figure carved by the Hopi ancients, the Great Spirit or Creator meets man. The Creator then gave man the sacred circle, a promised life of peace and plenty if, and only if, man would follow the spiritual path. While the brown man waited, the white man traveled the earth on a mission to spread the spiritual circle and return with knowledge.
He was supposed to bring this, but instead he brought a symbol of a cross, they said. It's on here, cross.
Breaking away from the Native American people, the white man now traveled the path of materialism and invention, as shown by these three figures on the Rock of Prophecy.
I always say that first figure represents first invention, like wagon, pulled by animals. And later the second one representing advancements in inventions. He brought automobiles that run by itself. Then the third one represents also advancements in inventions, scientific things, and now they have rode up in the sky.
With the invention of the aeroplane, The white man now commanded the land, sea, and sky. And just as the Hopi prophecy rock appears to predict, this thirst for power led to two devastating events, World War I and World War II.
There's a mine down over here, and that's where we are today. And the zigzag light represents up there big nations, powerful nations put their military might together and kill thousands of women, children, animals, birds. We have now come into last little circle above the line, which is, they said, may be the beginning of Third World War.
And so, as the Hopi prophecy goes, we find ourselves at the crossroads with the fate of the entire race of man hanging on one all-important question. Do we return to the sacred circle and a life of harmony and abundance? Or do we take the jagged road, leading us further and further from the spiritual path?
Time evolves and comes to a place where it renews again. There is first a purification time, then there's renewal time. We are getting very close to this time now. We were told that we would see America come and go. And in a sense, America is dying from within because they forgot the instructions on how to live on earth. Everything is coming to a time where prophecy and man's inability to live on earth in a spiritual way will come to a crossroad of great problems. It's the Hopi belief, it's our belief that if you're not spiritually connected to the earth and understand the spiritual reality of how to live on earth, it's likely you will not make it. Everything is spiritual. Everything has a spirit. Everything was brought to you by the Creator, the one Creator. Some people call him God, some people call him Buddha, some people call him Allah, some people call him other names. We call him Tonkashila, grandfather. We're here on earth only a few winters. Then we go to the spirit world. The spirit world is more real than most of us believe. The spirit world is everything. When the European first came here, Columbus, we could drink out of any river. If the Europeans had lived the Indian way when they came, we'd still be drinking out of water because the water is sacred. The air is sacred. Our DNA is made of the same DNA as the tree. The tree breathes what we exhale. When the tree exhales, we need what the tree exhales. So we have a common destiny with the tree. We are all from the earth. And when the earth, the water, the atmosphere is corrupted, then it will create its own reaction. Mother is reacting. In the Hopi prophecy, they say the storms and floods will become greater. To me, it's not a negative thing to know that there will be great changes. It's not negative. It's evolution. When you look at it as evolution, it's time. Nothing stays the same.
When we are brought to this earth, we have a mission. Everyone has a mission.
And how can you find out about
You don't
your mission?
look for it. People drive themselves crazy trying to find it. But it comes to you. It's in your being. And sometimes people have to travel many, many years before they'll realize that they've been that way all the time. They just didn't recognize it or didn't know how to. They had been exercising it without being totally conscious. And so we were sent a messenger, and we call him in English the Peacemaker. And he came, and he brought a message of peace. And the power in the message was only words, the teachings that compelled these people to believe and take up the way of peace.
When he first gathered the chiefs together on Onondaga Lake, which is not far from here, this great lake at this time, he gathered all the leaders together, and then that's when the instructions began.
So he would watch from the bush until he could discern who was the most powerful man in this village, this settlement, who was the one most feared, or who was the most evil and fearsome man here. And that is the one he approached when he found out who that was. And there's an illustration in every step of the stories as they are told. Illustrations of how we should live and how things can be if you follow the peaceful path.
Why did the Peacemaker choose the most feared and most evil man?
Because the message that he was bringing was a message that was going to bring about these people who didn't know what it was anymore for a person to die naturally. Everybody just died from being killed by another human.
No one knows exactly how long ago, but at least 1,000 years, and probably more. But at least 1,000 years ago, this Peacemaker brought this message to our people. Because we were in warfare, we were fighting, it was a terrible time. And he came at that time when we were in that kind of position when the leaders were the strongest, not necessarily the wisest. When it was the strength that was in charge and in command, and the women and children were frightened of their own men. They would not be even in the same house. They would run and hide because it was so fierce. And it was at that time this Peacemaker, this messenger, brought us this message of the great law, the great peace is what it amounts to.
And so the message that he was bringing was a respect for life and thanksgiving for life and living things. And so these men who were so feared by everyone, they enjoyed that life that they were living. And so it was not totally their vision that they should turn into such a peaceful person, that no one would be afraid of them anymore. Finally, he accepted totally the message of peace. And so because he had been such a powerful person, to appease him, he was given that very special seat at the head of the council that was now being formed. And he was going to be named the firekeeper of all these other councils who now became one.
And this was after he gave all the instructions on how to counsel. He gave the power and the authority and the responsibility to the different groups. He said the men would be responsible for the council to use their good minds now. Instead of fighting, they would now use reason and law. Law would be the basis, and you'll use your mind and you'll not fight. and you will sit in council, and he said, we'll call this the council of the good minds. And he said, and the women who are fundamental to life and female, as we all look around and we talk about the seed. Well, this is the female again, you see down here. This is her work. Her work. I mean, without it, we all have seed. We're seed at one time. Ourself comes from the two, the partner, the male and the female. Everything you see here is in twos. Nothing is by itself. Nothing can move by itself. This is his instruction. And so the female carries life. She is fundamentally important. Without the female, there is no life. None. Ever. Anywhere.
And so that is the story of how the peacemaker, the message of peace that the peacemaker brought to the people, was able to convert these people into a peaceful society. And that's when the structure of all this leadership, this chieftainship, began.
And so the children began truly celebrating according to the secret Mohawk customs and rituals. No one could stop them now. Sooner or later, he who forgets to listen to his children ends up losing them. But the secret dance had taken over the hearts and souls of the children. Nothing and no one could hold them back now. And they became so light that their feet lifted off the ground and the children flew off into the sky. All of them, one after the other, off to a new start in the world of the spirits, a monumental flight to the clouds. How beautiful and marvelous all of this was, and how very mysterious. Goodbye, children. You have indeed grown up. The children's rise towards the heavens was irreversible. Remember not to look back. Just keep moving ahead. The one who looks back will turn into a falling star.